Happy Friday and welcome into Cluster Fun. Danny Cunningham, Phil Mackey today recapping last night's 2019 NBA Draft, which it feels like it just ended 5 minutes ago because that thing took for freaking ever.
So did they have like an intermission between the first and second rounds?
It was like a half hour between rounds. Like, let's get this show on the road. I got things to do. I got stuff to write. I've got people to talk to. I don't want to wait to have to find out who the 54th pick is until 1 o'clock in the morning Central Time because that's what it felt like.
You've got wings to eat, you know.
Yeah.
Hey, actually, I'm going through Twitter here. Two things. I'm going to read this tweet because Doogie and you are tag team on a report, but I'm going to hijack Cluster Fun and ask you the question today.
Yeah, okay, let's do it.
Because you're the Wolves guy here, raised by Wolves, Danny Cunningham on Twitter, @RealDCunningham. You should follow him for scoopage and takes. So Doogie says, you guys are hearing Rosas had discussions with Charlotte about number 12, so meaning like moving back from 6 to 12?
Yes, it was after they had already made the pick of Culver. When
the French guy.
When Charlotte, yes, they wanted Sekou Doumbouya. When Charlotte was on the clock, the Wolves were one of the teams, and I'm not sure if more teams than just Minnesota were interested in that pick. I know that Woj from ESPN did report that Charlotte was open to moving that pick and was in discussions. He didn't give which teams. I know the Wolves, for a fact, were involved. Reported that with Doogie this morning. I don't know who else was, but they were definitely trying to move back for Sekou Doumbouya. I don't know if that would have involved giving up Culver to do it, or if they were trying to jump back in. But I do know that they were actively in discussions for the number 12 pick.
So is it, because I'm trying to figure out, I'm trying to unpack everything that happened for the Wolves last night. Mm-hmm. Did they, if they were in discussions to trade back, and there was national guys reporting once they traded up to 6, the next 2 hours was like, now they're trying to trade back. So doing the math, they traded up thinking a player would be there that was taken.
Yeah.
And then were they in scramble mode? Was their plan B Culver? I'm trying to piece all this together.
I do think their plan B was Culver. It's interesting that they didn't like Kobe White that much, it seems, because when they traded up, it was for Darius Garland. They moved up to number 6 with the intention of drafting Darius Garland, and when the Cavs took him at 5, I don't want to say panic mode set in, but that was plan A. That's what they traded up for. And Jarrett Culver probably was their plan B, but it's interesting to me that they didn't like Kobe White enough to take him at number 6 because my belief was that, okay, those two are the best 2-point guards outside of Ja Morant, who obviously was never going to be available at 4, 5, or 6, wherever you traded to. My belief was that those two were 1 and 2, so it's interesting to see that they clearly had a pretty sizable gap between Garland and White.
Okay, so let's do some more math here. Let's try to add up the pieces of this vision.
Sure.
So Culver, he's staying. Culver's on the roster.
Yes.
Culver's on the roster. He's 6'5". He's a 2 guard. You've got Josh Okogie on the roster right now. Both kind of similar in that neither one can really shoot, but they're high energy guys who can, they're different.
And Culver is a little bit bigger. Culver's probably more equipped to play the 3 in the NBA than Okogie is.
Okay.
Okogie's 6'4", does have long arms, but Culver's 6'6", 6'7", a 6'9", 6'10" wingspan.
You got Rocco on the roster.
And last night we learned Robert Covington's going to be a 4 in the NBA for the rest of his Wolves tenure. He's not going to play very much small forward the way he did last year, especially shipping Dario Saric out. They're going to be invested in it.
Wow.
Karl Anthony Towns at the 5. Robert Covington's going to be starting games at the 4.
Interesting. So, that's a very Rockets-like philosophy, right?
It is, very much so.
Put your talented, multifaceted, skilled big man in the middle, and then 4 dudes who can switch and shoot, right?
Yeah, that's going to be the plan. I mean, point guard is still a question, which they tried to address last night, and they did take a point guard in the second round in Jaylen Nowell from Washington, but it's going to be very interesting what this starting lineup looks like night 1.
What does the draft pick and the trade that led to the draft pick mean for Andrew Wiggins?
I think that Andrew Wiggins has always been expendable, but I would be far less surprised now if he's not on the roster than I would have been at this time yesterday.
Okay.
I think that moving him is more of a possibility now than it was 24 hours ago.
How movable is he right now?
Not super movable. It's going to be difficult to do, but I think that it's they've got the pieces to where they really don't need him now because they've got wing depth, which they haven't always had. They have wing depth now in Covington, in Okogie, in Culver now. Now, sure, none of them really shoot well other than Covington, But if Culver can get back closer to that 38% he shot from three as a freshman at Texas Tech, as opposed to the 30% that was his sophomore season, I think you're in a little bit better shape there. And maybe he did mention that a lot of the shots he was taking as a sophomore, he had to create for himself, and he wasn't exactly comfortable doing that. And as a freshman, he was more so in a catch and shoot role, and that's something that he excelled at. So that could be a good sign for him in the NBA, but who knows?
You left a wing player out. Hold on a second. So Covington, Okogie, Culver, Wiggins. Oh, that's right. You left D'Angelo Russell out of this equation.
He's not a wing player.
He's a point guard.
He's a point guard, and he's someone that absolutely is. I think that this is going to add fuel to that fire. I think that
and what's the report? Is it the Sun? The Suns are out. I saw a report
yes,
last night.
98.7 Arizona Sports out in Phoenix reported that the Suns really don't have interest in him. I don't know what the Suns are doing.
Does anyone ever know what the Suns are doing?
No, and I mean, they hired James Jones as a general manager, and you hope that he can get it turned around. But last night made no sense to me from Phoenix's perspective. Like, I have no idea what the Suns' goal is.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about this from the Timberwolves' perspective on Mackey and Jeb with Rami yesterday. We don't know what Gerson Rosas and the new front office. We don't know what these guys are capable of, or what they're. We know that they're aggressive because they showed it last night.
Oh yeah.
Not only move up, but then when things don't shake out the way that you really want, okay, maybe move back down.
Sure.
They're not afraid to pull the trigger. They're not afraid to trade established players.
It felt a little bit like the movie Draft Day.
Of course,
you know what movie? Well, okay, that movie sucked. Like, I've got friends that are in that movie, and that movie sucked.
Wasn't it a Wisconsin quarterback that went number 1 overall?
It might have been, but like two of my friends that I used to work with in Cleveland did the play-by-play of the game in the radio booth or the TV booth or whatever. That movie was terrible.
Like they were the extras who did the movie.
Yes, saying? They were in the movie.
Okay.
Like they get royalty checks. And that movie was terrible.
Amazing.
And I'm friends with them, and I don't care.
Yeah, like I'm sorry.
I talked to one of them on the phone yesterday. I'm like, your movie sucked.
I'm sorry. Joel Stave is not a top any other school other than Wisconsin.
He is the all-time wins leader at Wisconsin.
It's true.
All-time wins.
Knows
leader,
how to win.
Joel Stave, winner. Guy's a winner. He's got it. That winning DNA.
It did like you're saying, like just like the crazy ups and downs of like. Yes. I actually enjoyed the movie more than you did, clearly, but I'm not a Cleveland guy, so.
I mean, even that. Kevin Costner did a good job trading. I'll give him that. Is very Gerson Rosas-esque, but I think that last night's going to add fuel to the D'Angelo Russell fire this summer. I think that there is definitely mutual interest there. I think that if they can figure out a way, it feels like it's becoming more possible by the day.
Did you read, I got to find this real quick here. Did you see the quote Karl Anthony Towns gave a couple days ago?
Yes, I did. Where he's actively recruiting D'Angelo Russell. Essentially, he said that he's not whispering to him. He's using a microphone and blasting it in his ear. I believe it was something along those lines, if we're thinking of the same quote.
Yeah, I think here it is. Forever, me and D'Angelo have known each other for a very long time. We've talked about how much we want to play with each other, not even just in the NBA or college, but in high school. Who would have thought we're at this moment now?
I think that line you're reading into too much. Like, who would have thought, oh, you're a free agent, we both play in the NBA?
No, who would have thought we're at this moment now? And if I could finish the sentence in my head, it's where there's been a deal agreed upon behind the scenes. It's just not public yet.
I don't think that is the case, but I do think that it becomes more possible with each passing moment. Right. Especially with where Phoenix is not a suitor, Brooklyn, it feels like they're getting Kyrie Irving. Maybe Boston becomes a suitor, but also D'Angelo Russell. It's going to be interesting if he is a restricted free agent even, or if the Nets lift that restricted tag and don't and rescind that offer and let him just be a UFA and go wherever he pleases.
Okay, I have one more question for you on this cluster fund. As we flip it around, I'm asking Danny the questions today. As we're past the draft, we're approaching free agency. What is the thing you're most sure the Wolves are going to do?
Most sure? I think that, that's a very good question.
Like, not certain, but like the highest % sure. That
I'm very sure that they're going to be in the conversation for D'Angelo Russell this summer. I don't know that it's going to happen, but I'm sure that they're going to try every possible way that they can to make him a Wolf.
And what kind of, like, what average annual value, what's your prediction on his contract?
Oh, he's going to be getting 23 to 25 million, which is his max.
And you can clear that. You can clear that. Jeff
but
Teague's 19.
You are over the cap still. Like, it's not as if they have cap room, and they only saved like $800,000 by the trade last night because Jarrett Culver's contract cost so much more than the number 11 pick. And Dario Saric was only making, I believe, $3.4 million next year. So it's not as if they saved a ton of money by moving Saric last night.
That's cluster fun today. That's at Real D Cunningham. Danny Cunningham is our host of Raised by Wolves. Cluster fun every day if you're new to the stream here, and also Score North Sundays with Manny Hill. And I'm Phil Mackey. You can find, I'm not on the show today, Mackey and Judd with Rami, but 4 to 6 o'clock on Score North and the Score North mobile app. Got anything else?
That's all, man. It has been.
That was fun last night, man.
It was fun. It was a very long night. That draft took entirely too long.
And like, can we get a few more crying players on the like? Holy cow!
Yeah. How about Zion? Also, we do need to change something with the NBA. I hate that all these guys, like DeAndre Hunter, had to go up there wearing a Lakers hat.
Yeah, that is ridiculous.
And even the Wolves can't comment on Jarrett Culver. Like, Gerson Rosas couldn't say Jarrett Culver's name last night at his post-draft presser.
But he did say things like, we're identifying players who help us defensively.
He alluded to it plenty. He didn't try to be super secretive. He just tried to get around the rules as best he could.
Yeah.
But, like, the Wolves, even their Twitter account, they can't acknowledge that they drafted Jarrett Culver. The Wolves' Twitter account goes, with the number 11 selection, we picked Cam Johnson.
Like, and they left it there?
They have to. Like, that's their pick. They own, until July 6th, when this trade is consummated by the league, they own Cameron Johnson.
I need to look at the replies to that. I got to go find that. That's amazing.
That's like
what is stopping the NBA from just saying, all right?
Because a lot of these deals won't be processed until the new league year begins.
But why can't they just be processed under the old league year?
There can be plenty of different complications with them. It's strange.
And I'm hoping that those complications are more complicated than a player walking up with like the wrong hat, 3 teams removed.
It's unbelievable.
It's hilarious.
I can't stand it. Like, I feel bad for those guys in an extent. Like, that's supposed to be their moment. And so Jarrett Culver was in New York at the draft last night, and the guys that get drafted that are in the green room, they have a little press conference there that we don't have access to, but all of the reporters that are in New York do. Yeah. The first couple questions are like, are you looking forward to playing with Devin Booker in Phoenix? Like, and this kid knows he's not going to Phoenix. That's just unfair.
It's super weird.
It's also not right. He goes, Devin Booker's a great player, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
like you're putting that kid in such an uncomfortable situation as a 19-year-old. Like, you don't deserve that.
This is a small thing too, but all the photos taken of you on your draft night, in a hat that clearly isn't the team that will wind up, giving you a uniform.
And Tissot gave all the draftees a watch, like a personalized watch with the team that drafted them. What's DeAndre Hunter doing with that Lakers watch?
Keep it.
What's Jarrett Culver doing with the Suns watch? He said he already gave it back.
Keep it.
He says he wants no part of it.
Got to keep it. Hey, it's not official. Not to the league year.
Yeah, and someone asked, like, there's similar weather in Phoenix and Lubbock, Texas, where Jarrett Culver's from. What's that going to be like? There couldn't be a more stark difference in weather from Lubbock, Texas to Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Yeah, you better bring a parka.
Yeah.
Danny Cunningham, Phil Mackey. We'll see you guys next Monday for Cluster Fun.